Hey everyone, this is Ben Cicchini, founder of Give and Grow, here with another episode of the Give and Grow podcast. This is our social and emotional learning series, and I'm super excited to introduce you to our guest today, Kirsten Traylor. Kirsten is a school counselor and also a licensed clinical mental health counselor associate. So we're super excited to pick her brain today and share with you parents out there just some tips, tricks, tools, techniques, all the T's, to be able to really help you raise healthy, loving human beings. So Kirsten, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It is hot in North Carolina, but we are doing good down here.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I feel you. Summertime is here.
Yes.
I hope you're enjoying a break after, I'm sure, a full school year. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I just had a baby. She's about 8 months old. Yes. So I just came back from maternity leave and now we're on summer break. But I do work two jobs, like you said. So I
Mhm.
still have clients at night. But yes, taking care of my little
Wow.
baby, enjoying. She loves the pool, loves the water. She loves all the things.
Amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
loving life. 8 months old. My wife is actually 5 months pregnant at the time of this episode. So we're
Congratulations.
kind
That's
of headed in the
awesome.
same direction. You're a ways in front of us. So yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
excited to pick your brain. Like, this is, once again, for anybody that's new to these podcasts, we just like to have casual conversations, but share really helpful things from people that have taken the time and have gone to the schooling and have paid for the schooling, to get this information and have some real research based techniques that'll help you and your family out. So, Kirsten, just like jumping right into that part of the conversation,
Mhm.
like, how can parents model emotional awareness for their children at home, and why is that important?
Yeah, I think that having a support system as a parent is the number one thing. I'm a huge advocate for therapists, right? So
Mhm.
parents having their own therapist or working with their child's therapist, and really having that kind of composure.
Mhm.
Um, there's something called mirror neurons. And so mirror neurons, they are activated either when you're doing something or you're watching someone do something. So if your child is, having a meltdown, your mirror neurons are going to be activated, right? And that's going to
Mhm.
send your nervous system into activation. So really being aware of that. So that way, when your child does have that behavior, you kind of are aware of that and then you use your coping skills. Once you are regulated, your child's mirror neurons will start to mirror yours, and
Mm.
that will help your child to de-escalate. So
Mm.
unfortunately, a lot of it is on the parent, right? We already have so much that
Right.
we need to do. Let's just add something else.
Right.
Right? And we're usually tired as
Mhm.
a mother of an 8-month old. We're definitely tired. And I find myself, so for example, a real life example, my baby's crying. I start to get, overwhelmed, right? I'm matching
Mhm.
her mirror neurons when she's screaming, crying. She wants a bottle. So I'm aware of that. I use my coping skills, either take a deep breath, and then once she is with me and feels my low heart rate, her heart rate will start to go
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
Um, so mirror neurons are a crazy concept.
Right.
And they also help with empathy, right? So if
Mm.
you're looking at someone and they're upset, you kind of feel what they're feeling, right? You
Mhm.
start to be in that groove and be in that cohesion and connection with them. Um, so I think mirror neurons are scientific, evidence-based reason for that, how to respond in a calm manner. Um,
Mhm.
and that support system, right? Like finding people that are going through the same thing that you are.
Mhm.
I think the power of connection is so healing.
Mhm.
Either joining a group of new moms or maybe other parents that have a child with the same diagnosis as yours.
Mhm.
Really finding your village of people is really
Mhm.
important because it can be isolating, having a child with um, difficult behaviors can be taxing on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna put it lightly, right? Like a lot of
Right.
my clients, their parents are, please, something, help me. They're like
Right.
at their last
Mm-hmm.
resort. It's hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard. And so I just want parents to know, like, I get it. It's not
Mm-hmm.
easy. You're doing the best that you can with what you
Mm-hmm.
have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think taking a step back and realizing that and taking care of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think is really important.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that, first of all, that you're acknowledging how challenging it is, whether your kid has a diagnosis, whether they're just a newborn and it's just a tough
Yeah.
time of life and there's not a lot of sleep, or it's just normal growth and a lot of things that you're juggling. That support system being so, so key. I really appreciate you bringing that up and inviting people to find that if they don't have it already, leaning into
Hmm.
professional support for their child, for themselves. And then really like what I'm hearing is it's all coming back to the parent. I really appreciate you acknowledging that, like, hey, it's another thing on your plate, but in my
Hmm.
mind, this is like the most important thing on your plate is your health and well-being, taking
Hmm.
care of yourself, and these mirror neurons that you're sharing with us, which I love that, and I love how it's rooted in science here. you know when we take care of ourselves, it's going to positively impact our child, not only like them seeing how to manage tough
Hmm.
emotions, difficult situations and conversations, but literally like their nervous system is starting to attune to yours when you're whether you're taking care of yourself or not.
Yeah.
So like that becomes like a one thing. Taking care of yourself becomes this one thing that can really change and impact so many different areas of our lives.
Oh yeah, especially with anxiety. I mean, a lot of the children, the clients that I see that have anxiety, typically their parents also have anxiety and they've
Mm-hmm.
kind of learned those coping skills or they've seen, that parent has kind of modeled that behavior or those responses, right? And it's not their fault. It's just
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Right.
So being aware of that, I think awareness is a
Mm-hmm.
huge step, just being aware.
Yep.
And then once you're aware, then you can kind of realize moments, step back, use
Mm-hmm.
skills. But it's a process.
Right.
It's
Can
definitely a
I
process.
ask you about that process, maybe for you or what you help kids and adults, their
Hmm.
parents, like how can people build that awareness?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of ways to kind of either teach your child or for you to build that. One thing that I love for kids is to watch videos or movies, as you're naturally watching them, and kind of using characters as examples, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like Bluey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So be like, oh, I noticed that Bluey has been frustrated there. Or I wonder if that character is jealous of the brother. The
Mm-hmm.
I wonder questions are really helpful. I use that a lot in, my play therapy techniques. I'm working to be a registered play therapist.
Awesome.
So, in my process of working with kids, I do a lot of play in my sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a kind of an example of something that I would say, like, I wonder this or I wonder that. And it gets them
Mm-hmm.
thinking. Um, so kind of using real life examples is an easy way of just that natural flow of your day, things you're
Yeah.
already doing with your kids. Um, another thing is when they're playing, a key thing that I do is kind of to build their self image, right? When they're playing, instead of saying, oh, I love that, or oh, I'm so proud of you, like things that I feel, you really want to kind of bring awareness to how they feel about themselves.
Mm.
Instead of them trying to please you, you're trying to turn it and have them focus on themselves and be like, oh, I am proud of myself, or oh, I did work hard. So, for
Right.
example, if they're doing Legos, boys love Legos or girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gender neutral. As they're building, you could say, oh, I noticed you were so proud of yourself. You built that so high. Or,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I could tell that you really focused on building block by block, really
Mm-hmm.
slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, I can see it in your face. You are so excited that it didn't fall. So,
Mm.
kind of pushing it back on them And
I
then
love that.
slowly they realize it in themselves that they feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want them to be, people pleasing. I mean,
Right.
naturally some of us are, but really pushing it back on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Building that inner image, that
Right.
positive image. Um, and, positive self talk,
Mm-hmm.
working with kids as they're naturally playing. Again, these are all things you can do throughout your day when you're with your
Right.
kids. A lot of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, um, changing negative self talk. So if you hear your child say, "Oh, I'll never be able to get that. Oh, this is so hard."
Mm-hmm.
Changing their narrative to like the power of yet, right? They always hear
Right.
the power of yet, or I haven't done that yet. So
Mm-hmm.
helping them come up with new ways of talking to themselves. So,
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, "Oh, I'll never get this," you could say, maybe next time I'll do this instead. Or they could say, if they're learning how to ride their bike, and they fell over, be like, "Oh, this is so hard." You could say, "Oh, you know what? I tried my best that time."
Right.
Helping them come up with new ways. The kids, they're not naturally, wired for some of this.
Yeah.
Adults have to teach these skills, which is
Mm-hmm.
hard, right? We automatically do it. I think for me, it's kind of hard. These typical, skills that we come by easy. Um, we forget that we actually have to teach our kids some of these things.
Right, right. There, and that's what this term social emotional learning it's all about. It's the teaching and the learning of these skills. I really
Hmm.
appreciate everything that you dropped in there. There are so many like golden nuggets there, but one of the things that I think is intentional on your behalf that
Hmm.
it all goes into the natural flow of what's already happening within your
Hmm.
day. You're watching shows, you can bring social emotional learning to that. You by your questioning or your pondering, I
Hmm.
wonder, those sorts of things. Or the negative self-talk. I coach kids in basketball, right? And I
Yep.
hear it just come up within the flow of a practice or a game. And it's like, oh, I can't make anything. I suck, like whatever it is.
Hmm.
And it's like, these are perfect opportunities, not just to let that stuff slide, or not even to just like tell them what to do instead, but like ask some of those questions. Like
Hmm.
you were putting it in such a beautiful way of being able to be like, hey, like, well, what's another way to think about that? Or the power of yet. How may I mean, you haven't done it yet, but do you think with some practice you might be able to do that? And there was something else that you mentioned before around just the you were helping the kid build the awareness for themselves.
Hmm.
Like I notice you put a lot of time and energy, or I notice your face lit up,
Yeah.
when this happened. And that's helping them be like, oh, yeah, like my face changes when I feel good. Like just those
Yep.
little nuggets where you're not giving the answer, but you're inviting them to discover.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
beautiful,
for sure.
beautiful. And it, kind of like you mentioned play therapy.
Hmm.
We just talked about how it can kind of easily flow into your day, some of these like points and skills. What role does playtime specifically like have in building social emotional learning skills?
Well, this is why I love play therapy because honestly, play is the language of kids. It's how they are showing how they feel, and it's not even explicit. A lot of the times, I'm looking for themes in their play. So, for example, a client, a child could be in my office and just stuff is everywhere. I mean, they are going through
Mm-hmm.
every single thing. There's stuff all over the floor, and a theme that could be, chaos. And right. So I'm thinking, chaos theme, what could that mean for them? Well, it could mean that in their life, nothing is in control. There's so much going
Mm-hmm.
on. Maybe there's a lot in their brain, just chaos, right? So once I build on that, we'll work with the parents. Why does the child feel this way? How could we structure and add more control to their life, or how can
Mm-hmm.
they feel more control? I think really a child is not going to come up to you thinking about, kindergartners or even fifth grade. Like, "Oh, I feel so frustrated because he said this." It's
Mm-hmm.
just not realistic. I mean,
Right.
eventually kids will get there, but
Right.
play honestly is the way to go. And they'll show a lot in their play. I think really knowing your kids and observing them is such a
Mm-hmm.
key thing. You will gather so much from their play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even with, I have doll houses in my office, I have sand tray, I have miniatures. Even basketball, like you were mentioning, I have a basketball hoop on the back of my door, and the kid will shoot, hoops as we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where a lot of, stuff will come up. Just the movement as they're playing
Right.
kind of distracts their brain. So
Mm-hmm.
they're able to, access that part of their brain.
Yeah.
Um, Play kind of allows them to separate themselves too if they're talking through a doll. Like if you watch your child
Mm.
play with the dollhouse, they'll act out things with the doll because it separates
Right.
themselves. It's less scary
Mm-hmm.
for it not to be about them. So they're kind
Mm-hmm.
of acting out their feelings, and that's a perfect window for you to kind of, prompt them and talk
Mm-hmm.
about things and kind of role play with the dolls. So
Mm-hmm.
they're learning, but it's not directly at them. It's not as
Right.
scary.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think a lot of times us, as parents or educators, unfortunately, without, trying, we kind of induce shame, right? We're like, why did you do that? Or
Mm.
why did that happen right in the moment? And the kids shut down, right? Because they feel
Mm-hmm.
shameful
Mm-hmm.
um, from their behavior. So rewording it in a way that does not cause shame or
Mm-hmm.
embarrassment, a lot of the behaviors, that's the root of it. The kid feels shameful or they feel embarrassed, um, which we kind of switch from play to that feeling. But I feel like it's important to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
is reducing that shame. Brene Brown, a really famous social worker, she talks a lot about shame. So I love her work
Mm-hmm.
as well. Once you move out of that, you can actually have that connection with that person and
Mm.
make a change. But you don't have that connection, nothing's going to happen.
Right, right. Because people, why is that? Just to go a little level further, like why, when there's shame present, that there's no growth connection.
It's just because you don't feel that connection with that person. In order to have connection, there's protection, right?
Mm.
So it's either protection or connection. If you
Mm-hmm.
feel shame, you're in protection mode and you're in defensive mode.
Mm.
Um, and you're not going to be able to reach that child when they're in that mode, which is
Okay.
another, building block of, building that connection as a parent or as as an educator or as a therapist.
Right.
Half of the change happens because of the relationship that you build.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really, really important.
Yeah, thank you so much for just going a level deeper there. The protection connection piece just makes so much sense. I still feel it in my day to day. I might do something that I didn't really feel good about that. As soon as shame comes in from somebody else, it's
Yeah.
like I'm not going to apologize. I'm just going to like shut down,
Yeah.
kind of not communicate. Versus like
Mm-hmm.
if there would be like that acknowledgement, or yeah, just the love there,
Mm-hmm.
that it can really help to just, lead to those things that we truly want to see from our kids and from other people that we're interacting with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for breaking down the play as well. Like you
Hmm.
shared so much in there, and the movement aspect of it, like I
Yes.
imagine even just like going on a walk, and I've had other counselors talk about that too on here, and therapists like, hey, we just
Yep.
go on a walk when the kids shut down, and that movement piece being so huge, and it's cool to see how it
Mm-hmm.
connects with playtime and play in your practices.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
like, can you share some simple like mindfulness exercises that parents might be able to do with their children to promote emotional well-being?
Yeah. One of the ones that I just learned about, but I love it. It's called the butterfly hug. I think it's really cute. So we can do it right now in practice, but
Yeah.
you kind of put your hands up and you flip them towards yourself. The palms of your hands are facing you, and then you're going to interlock your thumbs to kind of make a butterfly, and your fingers are the wings, right? And then you're going to place it on your chest so that your fingers are along your collarbone. And this is going to stimulate bilateral stimulation. So it's going to activate the left and right side of your brain. And that is going to kind of trigger your nervous system to
Mm.
kind of break down. So what you're going to do is you're going to tap, tap, and you're going to tap left and right. And eventually, after about, 10 times, you could take a break, you could stop, and then you can restart. And eventually, what that'll do is that's going to calm your body. Um,
Mm.
so you could honestly do that in front of your child, not even say anything, right? And just model that. And eventually they might start to do it, or you could actually teach them.
Right.
But it's called the butterfly hug,
I like
is
don't
that
want to
one.
move my hands. It feels like really comfortable just for me in this position right now,
It's very
truly.
comforting. It's really
Yeah,
giving yourself a hug. And it's
that's
really easy to
awesome.
do. A lot of times, too, I'll teach kids if they're at their desk or if they're somewhere where they don't want to be seen doing something, they could tap their feet left, right. And
Mm.
that's still activating the left and right side, or tapping your thighs with your hand, left,
Mm.
right, and really focusing on that. It's more discreet, than actually
Right.
having your hands up on your chest. But in the car, at home, you could always do the butterfly hug. I think that one's really good.
Right.
Another one is shark and jellyfish. And this is a muscle relaxation. So what you'll do is when I say shark, you're gonna tighten all the muscles in your body. And then when I say jellyfish, you're gonna like relax all the muscles and be like jelly, right? So I'll say shark, and you're gonna tighten, you're gonna have like your fists, even your toes, and then jellyfish. And then you're gonna like relax, right? And then shark and tighten everything, and then jellyfish, right? So that's really gonna help relax your muscles,
Mm-hmm.
um, and cause you to kind of
Mm-hmm.
relax and get all that tension out of
Yeah.
your system. So yeah, I think those are really fun ones that I think are really easy. Um, and then there's also star breathing, on your hand. So as you move up your finger, you'll breathe in. As you move down, breathe out. And you go through all five.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one to do. Another one is kids yoga. I love the fun. There's cosmic kids yoga. I don't
Yes.
know if you've heard of that one, but
Yes,
it's
I've
so
seen it.
fun. The kids love it. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
on YouTube, right?
It's so easy. Yeah, you could
Yeah.
pull it up on, kids have tablets, so you could pull
Right.
it up on their tablet. Those are really good activities for nighttime as well,
Mm-hmm.
getting their body ready for sleep. A lot of clients' parents are like, my child has so much difficulty falling asleep, or they cannot stay asleep. So a lot of the things I give them, it's like yoga at night, or get their
Mm-hmm.
energy out during the day,
Right.
really have them active
Tire them out.
during the day. Tire them out. Yes. Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate how much of the things that you just shared are really body based. I
Yeah.
think some people, even when I probably first started out doing this personal development side of things, was like mindset, shifting the mindset, mental health. It's like we're focusing so much time and energy up here and ideas and thoughts and trying to shift those things. But it's like, okay, when we calm down, it's these body things, right?
Hmm.
It's shifting our awareness down into our body, down into our toes. And
Yeah.
that has changed my life dramatically, being able to just like get in touch with my body and get out of my
Hmm.
head. And I think that can help with the sleep thing that you're addressing too. Our thoughts are
Yeah.
racing, we're overthinking, and we can't go to sleep. Boom, bringing the awareness down in the body, whether it's with a breath or with one of these mindfulness practices that you shared, the tensing, the relaxing, like all of this
Hmm.
is building that connection with the body.
Oh, it's really important. And I think that it's really hard to be aware. One of the things I talk about with kids is the five senses, and that's really grounding.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a lot of thought, right? To really sit and be present.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, you have to be specific, right? So five things you see, five things you hear, 5 things you feel,
Right.
5 things you taste. And we don't
Mm-hmm.
normally do that, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
really have to be specific and present in order to
Mm-hmm.
do all those things. It takes a lot of effort.
Right. And the presence piece is what we're trying to build, right? What by like
Hmm.
bringing our focus and awareness to our body. These things are happening right here and now. So that's that's mindfulness in a nutshell.
Yeah,
Thanks to
right?
you,
Yeah.
Kirsten. um, so kind of in like wrapping things up a little bit,
Mhm.
you mentioned the Cosmic Kids yoga, which I've definitely seen, super fun. Would definitely
Oh
highly
yeah.
suggest people give that a test. Are there any other like books, movies, YouTube channels or videos, apps, those sorts of resources that parents can tap into?
Yeah. So one of the things that I mentioned was the bilateral stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go on YouTube and just search bilateral stimulation music, make sure you have your headphones in, and the
Mm-hmm.
music will play left ear, right ear. Um, and so that's really good to play while your child's coloring or while they're drawing or at night when they're about to go into bed. And that'll really calm their body. It's super easy.
Mm-hmm.
Another book or author that I love is Dan Siegel. He's
Mm-hmm.
really great. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
I love his books. Um, yeah, I think just having also SEL books for your child to read is really important, like having
Mm-hmm.
that on their bookshelf.
Right.
Just you know, books about emotions. It doesn't have to be explicit, but really
Right.
identifying characters. And like I said before, using those books as you're reading with your child, and bringing awareness to how the characters feel. How are they
Right.
coping with things? I think that's really important too.
Hmm. That sounds like a cool place to start as well. Like if you start with a
Hmm.
book that kind of is more explicit, and then you're able to take that into the other movies, shows, books, whatever, like you were talking about before. I could see that combination being really powerful, especially if a parent is kind of new to the social emotional learning or
Yeah.
how to teach it or what language to use, especially meeting their kid where they're at in age and development. Um, but I thank you so much for dropping those in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kirsten, just once again, thank you so much for your time and energy dropping in here to share. I hope everybody walked away with as much as I did. You're one of the first people to actually like walk us through your mindfulness exercises, which is
Oh,
like I
cool.
find so like you got to feel it, like
You
it's
have to
about the
feel it.
feeling.
You have to experience it yourself.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the benefits of me, being a school counselor and being in the education system. I've really learned how to teach these things, right? And it's really
Mhm.
important whether you're an adult or a child. You have to be able to experience it yourself in order
Mhm.
to teach it and be, convincing. You have to have
Right.
the buy-in
Right,
of the kids,
exactly.
right?
And
And
that's
if you don't know it, they're gonna be like, you don't know it either. Why am I gonna learn it?
right,
Yeah.
exactly. You're not using this too, which I think comes full circle. And like, we can share
Mhm.
these things on the podcast all day long, but it's those little
Yeah.
things that you dropped in here. I think you made it really easy today for people to incorporate this into their everyday routine, just with a little bit of awareness. Hopefully that's
Hmm.
what this is a spark of awareness. Oh, I can like those mirror neurons, right? I got to take care
Yeah.
of myself because the way I'm acting is impacting my kid energetically with their nervous system.
Mhm.
Just a really powerful conversation today, Kirsten. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Of course, yeah. Thanks for having me on. I just want parents to know you are doing the best that you can.
Hmm.
You got it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much.